Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we'll be checking out a track from an act named Stefan Ćertić titled Human. And if we switch over to here, apologies if I am butchering Ćertić, I needed to confirm the little C symbol there and that's apparently like a J sound or something like that. Apologies if I'm incorrect. But anyways, we're going to be listening through this track from start till finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. What have we got?
I stand in a distant haze, wonder what will become of me.
Okay.
Put on trial and marked. Slowly the vultures pound.
Synthwave elements.
Their mission unannounced. Is this the end of the line?
There's a tremendous amount of tension to this off the bat, isn't it, with the increase of those bass stabs later on, but the guitars, drums, vocals. It's good.
Please save my soul. I am begging now. I lost control. With that there is no doubt. If you hear me,
I mean, it's
show some compassion. My only crime is being human.
yeah, there we go. My only crime is being human. Yeah, I understand. I think I understand what this track's about at this point. Obviously, I'm not going to assume I know the rest of the story, but it's, you know, you want to kind of get the hang of a track within the first minute just so you know whether you're going to kind of get the sting of it or not. And yeah, it's great. Nice to have little breaks of instrumental parts.
This is no love letter to the gods, laying myself bare, but at what cost? Swimming in endless seas of regret, I'll compose myself to figure out who I've become.
I like the little kind of tick-tocky sound as a transition into this hook part as well. I think that's kind of dope. You know, there's clever little creative decisions being made here. We don't sleep on a concept for too long. We take and we give.
Please save my soul. I am begging now. I lost control. With that there is no doubt. If you hear me, show some compassion. My only crime is being human.
Oh, key change. That's fun. With a synth solo. Good stuff. With some octave chords and guitar behind it. It's a really articulate piano playing. Chord notes pushing us forward.
Human, I'm only human. Please save my soul. I am begging now. I lost control.
Call and response. Reinforcing those hook line melodies. There's a fascinating array of different elements here. I'm enjoying it. Clearly there was a lot of care put into this from Stefan, and I'm all for it, man. I think it's great that we made the most of the possibilities here. Because this is my review of this track by Stefan Ćertić, titled Human. What do I think this track's about? I think it's about someone accepting their own fallibility as a human being, not trying to get forgiveness like from the gods. This isn't a love song. We're not trying to excuse it. It's more just asking us to accept that no one is perfect and we're just doing the best we can with the resources we have and our own sort of like vices and limitations. That's cool. I think that's something that a lot of people are going to be able to relate to. Not everyone is a winner off the bat. Sometimes you got to assess your own weaknesses to figure out if you can turn them to strengths or find other stuff that you can do, And that's part of the beauty of growth, is that it comes from that, being humbled. So I think that's cool that we got that for a story. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be able to relate to it. Some people might even need to hear it, especially if they're being very judgmental towards others despite their own stuff that they should be insecure about. The vocals from Stefan here were good. I'm happy with the melodies that we chose here, the different ideas for the verse parts and the choruses and everything like that. I think that it was good to have that extra bit of development in the outro hook with the extra layers, because it showed that we understood to kind of like continue to build up and not allow things to kind of flounder at the halfway point. We weren't happy with the sameness. We didn't want to take the listener's attention for granted. I think that we gave enough in the first minute to understand what the track was going to be about, which was good because it gets people kind of like comfortable to an extent. You then at that point typically need to have a twist or something like that, but I think in this instance we simply like continued to offer further context for like little kind of nuances within that could be allowed for with something of the scope, and we did well with that. So I think that we showed some really good vocal technique with the head and chest voice, some little melodic runs there occasionally, some interesting tail ends on those concepts, and I think we knew to kind of maintain a sense of consistency with the hook lines whilst changing the way we did the call and responses for maybe a breathier upper register kind of take, and that was good. So well done on that front. I think the vocals made sense emotionally, performatively with the story, and all in all, it was a really good first impression. To continue on, we basically have a track that's between that 2 to 4 minute sweet spot, which is good. So basically, it's not going to be too alienating for a listener on that first impression. I think we made good use of that real estate, not just with the verse-chorus structures and the storytelling, but also with the use of the different instruments like the pianos, the synths, the guitars, the drums, the bass, etc. We had a lot and it's kind of stacked in here, and we didn't allow any of it to sleep or act as filler material. The drums were fantastic with the chord note grooves and accents we had pulling us along there. We're never overbearing on the mix, but enough to kind of guide everything else forward, with the bass providing some really compelling low-end kind of control, as well as, reinforcing the harmonies, the root notes of the harmonies and progressions that we had with like the guitar arpeggios or strum parts, the piano lines, the synth sequences, and the bass stabs that we had later on in this second half of like the verses. And ultimately, I think that the combination of these different elements there, as well as the building them gradual development over the course of the track, was smart. It was good. It was nice and colorful and pretty. There was a bit of tension. Sometimes we used unconventional notes that may not have fit necessarily naturally within the major or minor keys or scale shapes, but I think that was important because it made the song unpredictable, which therefore makes it more interesting for the listener, as long as it doesn't alienate, or as long as it's not lacking in justification within the context of the piece. So I think that we did really well handling all that jazz. That was great. I mean, in addition to that, simply the intricacy of the performance, especially with the synth solos later on and the keys and the guitar stuff, shows someone who is comfortable across these different elements, understands how to keep a song and retain engagement whilst not being kind of like facetious about it. We're not patronizing to the listener. We're not gripping them by the neck and pushing them, pulling them forward. It's the case where I think we just offered enough for the listener to be interested and kind of stack stuff on as we went. We can clearly play our instruments well. I don't think there was a note out of place. I think there was a sort of a sophistication to the theme, the overall theme here, with the extensions, the intricacy of the various melodies and harmonies within it. The piece had a kind of a synthwave-ish kind of classical, like mid-2000s music kind of vibe to it, genre-wise. And the style of it was it was fantastic. I think it still sounds good today, and it would have sounded good in the 80s. I think that it has almost a sense of timelessness to it. So I hope that Stefan continues to create music like this to really explore the boundaries of what's possible within his own creativity. Because I think this is a really good start. I don't think there was a note out of place, and the song made sense across all the various allergies, and there was a chemistry between the different ingredients. But basically, that just leaves the studio recording, mixing, and mastering, where I think that was really well handled. You know, we had a wonderful situation where the vocals are nice and present in the mix without being too over-processed, and like we just had good takes on those runs. The backings were kind of panned a little bit to the side to make room for the vocals in the center. The drums were nicely controlled and they were present in the mix alongside the bass, with alone they punched through without being too much. The guitars were not as dominant as I would have expected, but I think simply it's because the keys and synth focus was more of the thing alongside the vocals, and that's absolutely fine. The guitars with that mid-range kind of warmth there, which was cool. I think in addition to that, we just had this wonderful situation where like when the piano sounded sparkly and pretty and magical almost, and it was almost like we were glimpsing at the majesty of our own kind of like appearance within this universe we're in, the wonderment of that, as opposed to not just allowing ourselves to make mistakes, but also being thankful for the opportunity to do so in the first place. The synth solo was nice to stage in that high section, the mid to high section there. Things were well stacked in the frequency spectrum. There were no resonant frequencies in the mix. It was nice and wide and stereo field. Things surrounded you and the cans really nicely. And I think that in general, you know, the leveling of the instruments was good. There wasn't anything that popped out unconventionally or in a less than ideal way. I think that as well, we had dynamic range to this piece. Things weren't the same perceived loudness all the time, which was good. The music was allowed to breathe. And it was also nice and loud with that said. So the limiting compression was handled. So, you know, it didn't pump. It was good. It was commercial grade. I mean, basically, this is my very positive review of this track called Human by Stefan Ćertić. Hopefully, again, I'm not mispronouncing that. I did put actual effort into trying to find it out. So, yeah, anyways. That's my review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go check out their various social medias and a YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.